Diary of the Dead was released in 2007. This is directed and written by George A. Romero, and we have a cast including Michelle Morgan, Joshua Cloth, Sean Roberts, and various others. And this one, of course, is a zombie film. And this one's a little different to the other films that came before this from Romero, because this one's actually a found footage film. So I like the fact that they're giving us something a little bit different. It's not just the exact same film done a couple of years later. But at the same time, it doesn't feel as good as the other films. It feels like the run-of-the-mill zombie film, whereas the ones that come before this feel like they could become classics. Indeed, some of them are. This one, I feel, is okay, but it's not one that's going to stick with me. I think it would be quite easy to forget about it. We have some found footage as some film students are filming and come up against some zombies. Straightforward concept, don't hate it. I think the found footage aspect sometimes works really well, but it's not the strongest. There were times where I forgot I was watching a found footage film, where the camera work doesn't feel like the camera work of a found footage film. So I think that wasn't as well executed as it could have been. The voiceover narration, it isn't constant, but it is there, and it really, really irritated me. I'm not a fan of voiceover narration, and it added nothing. It served absolutely no purpose, so that I found to be a lazy method of storytelling that I really cannot stand. In terms of the horror aspect, though, it was quite strong when it happened. There were some good jump scares. The zombies looked really great, and my favourite part of zombie films, I'm slowly getting into zombie films more and more, and I'm finding that the bits that I enjoy the most are not necessarily the bits that are meant to be the scariest, or the bits that are more obviously scary, like a zombie running towards you. It's the bits where the zombies are just there, and they're driving past the zombie, and they happen to bump into it with the car, and it doesn't even faze them. They don't even recognise that there's a zombie there, because they're just so used to it. It's become so ordinary that it's not scary anymore because you're just used to it, and that in itself is scary. And there are bits where they are passing zombies in vehicles and they're just not even commenting on them because it's become so commonplace. And I thought that in itself to me is scarier than, well, it can be scarier, it depends on the film, but that bit of it I thought was done quite effectively. So even when it's not the scariest in terms of solid horror elements, jump scares, loud music, things like that, it still has a very eerie atmosphere. The performances are very good. And in general, it's a fine film. It just lacks the beauty that the previous films have. That's not to say the previous films were all perfect, but they felt memorable. And this one, I feel like, if I'd watched this, I wouldn't have immediately said, yes, that's Romero's Diary of the Dead. If I'd watched this without knowing who directed it, if I was just scrolling through the television or something and put it on without knowing the film, I never really would have said, yeah, that's Romero's. So it doesn't feel like the others. For some people that might be a good thing, but in general I thought it was just a pretty average film. And average is not always bad. Average still means enjoyable, but it wasn't the quality that I was expecting. And as I said, the found footage aspect works only some of the time. Some of the time it doesn't feel like a found footage film, and that kind of pulls me out of the narrative. But we have some good zombies, good performances, some decent horror elements. In general, Diary of the Dead is a fine film. Not as good as I was expecting, but ultimately not a bad experience, and I'm happy enough to recommend it.